Welcome back to My Trauma's Chronic but I'm Iconic. In today's episode, we're spotlighting the incredible achievement of this female entrepreneur. Today, we're thrilled to share the inspiring journey of Tamta, a visionary reshaping social platforms and entrepreneurship in a male-dominated industry. Tamta's story of perseverance and innovation stands as a beacon of empowerment. Join us as we explore her path from humble beginnings to groundbreaking success with My Kitchen, Her Story. Through Unorthodox Ventures, she's championing diversity and inclusion, shaping a more equitable future. Welcome to our podcast, where we are celebrating the extraordinary women shaping industries worldwide. Can you tell us about your journey into the tech industry and what initially inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship?
Uh, wow, that's a loaded question. So my journey in tech industry was very accidental and random. I never really thought of joining tech when I was studying business in uni. In fact, I hadn't even graduated when I received my first offer. And I was told that there was this site called LinkedIn, and that I should create a profile on there because that's how you get the job. And I was an international student, and I was very much determined to get a work experience in the UK. And so I did, created a profile, listed all my limited qualifications on it. And the next day, I was woken up by a recruiter at 8 a.m. with a call asking me if I wanted to join a software company. And I had no idea what that really even meant at that time. This was a long time ago. And that's how I got started in tech. I worked across large kind of blue chip tech companies, from IBM to Salesforce to Google and Palantir. But and it was really amazing. I met incredible people, worked on some world changing projects. However, when I was already moving from Google to Palantir, I was kind of I was already feeling that I wanted to do something on my own, although I wasn't quite sure what that would have been. However, when I got an offer from Palantir, I couldn't turn it down. I was too curious to see what was going on behind the scenes there. And after some time at Palantir and contributing to the building the team and go-to-market strategy, I have decided that it was time for me to kind of exit without really a plan and without really knowing what I wanted to do. All I knew that I wanted to run my own business on my own terms, as well as something that would contribute to the success of female entrepreneurs, something that would change the stat of the funding for female entrepreneurs that is less than 2% at the moment, and something with smaller organizations where I could really firsthand see the impact that I was making. So that was really the start for me.
Wow, that seems like a really like a risk that really worked out and it's been like really successful. What led you to find Unorthodox Ventures and what was the mission behind the organization?
Well, the Unorthodox Ventures came about and kind of like shaped its own self, right? I knew, as I said, that I wanted to have elements of, supporting female founders on their entrepreneurial journey. But also, I wanted to make sure that all of the skills that I've learned throughout my tech career was, transferable, and I was utilizing that on my new venture. Unorthodox Venture is a firm that helps venture capital funds raise capital in a very unconventional way by helping the founders of VCs, so GPs, merge the sales and psychology processes and data and really drive their capital raise strategy in a very organized and effective and efficient way to increase their conversions of potential investors, as well as it has a second arm of investing in early stage emerging fund managers, so in VCs. And so far, we have invested in a few female-led VCs, which I'm very proud of and excited about. But ultimately, this was all shaped because one of the GP, a female one, actually approached me and said, "Hey, can you come and help us with fundraising?" And that was a little bit of an aha moment for me, because yes, I knew that startup founders were struggling to raise capital. However, I didn't quite appreciate how much even investors, fund managers, are struggling to ask for money from the fellow investors. And when I thought about it, it really made sense, because the whole career, them being a private investor or an institutional investor, they have been the ones on the other side of the table, the ones with the money, giving it and making to the founders and making those decisions, and never the ones asking for money. And that is not a really easy task. We have a lot of blockage and just generally issues with being able to not just receive, but also ask for money. So that was something that I had to work with my team to change that on their side, as well as kind of put in the processes in terms of the technology and other processes to ensure that it's all very controlled and very organized diligence.
What are some of the challenges you face as a female entrepreneur in the tech sector, and how did you overcome them?
So I was a tech leader, like a sales executive in tech sector.
Mm.
Um, and well, I mean, the challenges there are nothing groundbreaking, really. When I joined that industry, it was like, I don't know, 13 years ago now. And I was one of the very few, if not the only, female in boardrooms in most of the time. And especially some of the clients and target customers I had on government or non-government side, they would have been mostly 99% of the time men. And so it was not just navigating it through and building up that profile and reputation and a rapport with those potential clients when it came to their gaining their trust, or them just feeling even comfortable to sit down with a much younger, you know, individual who is seemingly driving them through the sales process and asking them to pay hundreds of millions in a contract for technology, but also for them to trust me as a professional, as an expert, as someone who can give them the right advice for their business. And so it was a constant, I think, reputation building, and some of the battle of like them not just seeing me a female and not having that ego involved in that.
How did you balance the demands of entrepreneurship with other aspects of your life, such as, family and personal well-being? Because, we went to which Sophia did with the mental health and entrepreneurship, and you said in a month, in the beginning, you did 300 and so meetings.
Yeah, yeah, that was wild, and it was quite a journey, because I was always kind of, you know, in an industry and in roles where, you're a sales executive, you are constantly measured, your numbers, what is the contract size, how much did you close, how much did your team close. So for me, it was kind of like something that I learned before and I was used to. And I kind of like took that and applied it to my new ventures. So it's like, okay, in my head, if I want to understand really what I want to do, and who my target audience would be, I need to go and throw myself in there and meet as many people as possible. And that's what I did. And 300, yes, that was a lot. And was it an overkill? Maybe. But I mean, to be honest, it resulted in me really figuring out really fast where I wanted to go and where I wanted to take my business and career. However, balance was a tricky one. It's not the word that I really applied to my life, at least in the first year or so of my entrepreneurial journey, until I got really run down by COVID. I contracted it for the third time, but my immune system was so low that it was a really, really bad one. And so it really made me stop and slow down and take a look at my schedule, take a look at mentally how much pressure I was putting on myself and stressing myself out. And really reevaluate and rejuggle. And do I need to do 300 meetings in a month? No. And so it really kind of changed the direction, the way I look at it. But also when it comes to just making it right in entrepreneurial world, my dad is an entrepreneur. He always inspired me to become one. However, and that is also a pressure, right? Like not to
Mm.
disappoint your parents, but he did it so I could do it. So I have put a lot of pressure on myself. And I remember I was in a pretty low place at one point, and I called him and I said, um, yeah, well, I called him and I actually didn't say much. And he could hear my voice and that I was a little bit down. And he asked how the business was going, and I said, "Yeah, it's okay." And he just knows me too well. And there was a silence for a couple of seconds, and he said, "You do understand that I am so incredibly proud of you, and no matter what you do or what you don't do, I will always be extremely proud of you." And I just broke down in tears. It got me really emotional. And it's that selfless, I guess, love and unconditional love that people talk about that he really demonstrated in there. And it meant a world to me. So since then, I've been trying to really balance
Mhm.
it out for myself and not put too much unnecessary pressure on me.
Like, like, what strategies have you found most effective in building and scaling a successful startup?
Gosh, it really depends on a startup. It depends which industry um, it is in, but ultimately, there are some of the core factors that you need to take into consideration when you're just generally launching a business, right? It's like one, what is the addressable market for it, right? Like, who is your customer? Are there enough of them out there for you to really scale and become that $1 billion unicorn? Two, is your product or service, whatever you're offering, unique? And something that's not easily replicable, right? Um, is it something that somebody can take your idea and go and spin it up without you, or is it something that only you can do, right? And that makes it a lot more unique and desirable for the customers as well as the investors. And three, are you the person who can make it all happen? A lot of the times, I I receive pitch decks on daily basis, and a lot of the times I just don't even look at them. I am really interested in a founder, and if that founder can make this company successful, rather than who created this very elaborate 50-page pitch deck that anybody can do, really, and you can put whatever on the paper, but really it takes a certain type of personality with a skill set and a drive to take the idea and run with it and grow it and launch it into a successful business.
How do you approach mentorship and networking as a means of professional development and growth?
How do I approach mentorship as a means of professional growth? Well, if you're asking how important mentorship is, then I think it is. However, I can't really say that I had official, like awful lot of mentors in my career. Yes, I had extremely influential and impactful close circle contacts who were there if I ever needed them. But do I think it's helpful? Absolutely. I think it gives you perspective. I think it gives you experience that you're lacking. It opens up your network through that mentor and the person. And really, it's a good sounding board, whether it's personal or professional, as long as you choose them carefully and you know what you're trying to get out of them and what
Mm.
is it that they contribute to your career.
What initiatives or changes do you believe are necessary to create a more inclusive and equitable entrepreneurial ecosystem for women?
For women, yeah. I believe in root causes and going back to the really the beginning of the problem.
Mm.
And that will take us really, really far back, to be honest, if we kind of like dive into that. However, I do believe that giving them access, but also educating them on entrepreneurship from very early stage, that would be one of the biggest influencing factors. Because ultimately, unless you're born in a family that inspires entrepreneurship and encourages it, or you've witnessed a lot of entrepreneurs around you in your circle, it's a really hard decision to make, to go and you know launch your own business. It's a really tough one. And especially, it has proven to be a tough one with women. We have a lot more life events happening. And yes, we are talking about pregnancies, we're talking about periods, we're talking about times off when we have to take off of our career and dedicate our time to something else. And that's considered as a career break. And it's something that is what has been frowned upon for a very long time, and it is changing more or less now. However, I still see entrepreneurs and founders who get asked questions by potential investors like, are you married? Are you planning on having children? Are you, do you have children? Do you want to get married? Right? Like, they are all very consciously asking these questions because they want to know, as an entrepreneur, are you fully dedicated to this business? And is this your baby, or you want to have a human baby? And so therefore, I think education on that part, on the investor side, on the founder side, on their rights, and like how to handle those objections, and how to really not let others dictate the direction of their lives. That would be a step forward in really providing them with a little bit more equal playing field when it comes to female entrepreneurship.
What inspired the creation of My Kitchen, Her Story, and how does it reflect your personal journey and values?
My Kitchen, Her Story was actually inspired by a community of female entrepreneurs and investors that I started about a year and a half ago. It's called Founder Social. And that community was created by accident when I was organizing a dinner for myself and three of my girlfriends who were also investors. And they started inviting their fellow kind of female investors and founders they invested in. And we ended up having 15 amazing women around the table during that first dinner about a year and a half ago. And all that time later, now we have over 3,000 women across channel on that community. And it has shaped into this incredibly supportive community of high caliber females who are just there to support one another and inspire and educate and empower. And after meeting so many of them and hearing so many of their stories, I get inspired every single day by them. When we run events, I actually come home and I can't sleep because I am just so motivated and inspired, and just my whole body is buzzing. And one day, this summer, actually, well, past summer now, I was like, there should be a way to give these women a platform to inspire wider community and others to really go and just do whatever they want to do, whether it's entrepreneurship or a corporate career or being a mother or whatever they want it to be, right? But we don't really have a platform where we tell just women's stories, and we don't just tell them as, this is a founder of this company and let's talk about the company and as a businesswoman, but we tell them as fully formed humans who have had their share of experiences. They come from different cultures, they come from different backgrounds, and really understanding what it is that shaped them into an entrepreneur and the person they are today. So that was the inspiration really behind My Kitchen Her Story. And we do tell these stories all while cooking their favorite dish, because guess what? I mean, like when you go to someone's house, I mean, I don't know about you, but I usually end up kind of like having a chitty chat and catching up with them in the kitchen while they're preparing a snack. So it's just something that's so heartwarming when you combine food and good conversations and good people. And I wanted it to be just a celebration of it all. So that was the inspiration behind it.
Can you share any memorable stories or experiences from women who have participated in My Kitchen Her Story?
Oh my God. I mean, so many, but you gotta have to go and on our YouTube channel and watch our episodes. But our topics are cross-board and so diverse. So we talk about families and cultures. We talk about challenges and challenging the status quo. We talk about really traumatic personal experiences, like, miscarriages and abuse, and along those lines, a lot of different topics, as well as we celebrate their wins and them being, Oscar-winning actress, or them being a celebrated entrepreneur with 3 exits under their belt, or them being the first female producer in certain countries. I mean, like we have so much variety. But take a look at our episodes and let me know what do you think and which one you get them inspired the most by.
Which will be linked down below in the description. Can you discuss any future plans or initiatives for My Kitchen Her Story to further its impact and reach?
Yeah, I mean, look, when I get asked what the dream is for My Kitchen Her Story, I always say that it's to go global and to celebrate women from every culture, from every country, and tell their stories with their backgrounds and their cultural kind of differences and similarities, and cook their dishes and their cuisine. And that is the dream. It's the dream to really unite women in all of the world, because really we are just all humans. Yeah, we might speak different languages, we might have different taste in food or fashion, we might do business differently, but ultimately we are all women, we're all human. And I keep saying women, but this show is also not just for women. It is celebrating women, but I think both women and men are there to celebrate us. And it is a learning and inspiration for both genders, and we don't aim to differentiate here. So the dream is to really go global. And when people ask me, what other kind of like a show do you think it's similar to? And I can't really think of one, but I always think of one of my favorite presenters, Anthony Bourdain. His show was just so much more than just trying new food in different countries. It was deep diving into their culture, socioeconomical status, political, landscape, and really understanding people for who they are while celebrating their cuisine. So it's a little bit, if I had to pick one, I would say think Anthony Bourdain, but make it female, kind of about female entrepreneurs and female leaders.
How, like, you know, you've delved into some of the challenges you've encountered being a female entrepreneur in the entrepreneurial world. How have you navigated them? Because, like, if you, like, you know, as females, we face more challenges and more barriers. And then it's like, and when there's barriers every step along the way, how do you stay motivated?
I think that's changing a little bit, and I think the markets are more open to female entrepreneurs, and we have a lot of incredibly successful ones these days. However, yeah, and everyone faces challenges. However, how I like to combat it is by celebrating little wins. I remember when I was at Salesforce, I was working on this one really, really large deal. And I mean, like, monster deal. And it was taking forever because, again, it was a very large deal. And as someone driving this, and it's someone who is result oriented and really needs to see the results and the impact I'm making, I was getting really demotivated because the needle was not moving every single day. Things were not happening every single day. And it was kind of like a stretched over 1 year or year and a half, actually, period of time. And I complained about it to a senior leader there. And she said, you know what? Write down every single day just the small little win you had that day. And then by end of the week, you're going to have a look at your list and see what you have achieved and how much you have achieved. And see little win, like, I woke up really motivated today, and I woke up early and I got a lot of things done in the morning. To I managed to connect with my dream retailer where I want to stock my products in, right? To I was paid a compliment for no reason today because I looked fresh, or I sounded smart, or I contributed with my advice, right? Like, there can be so many different wins, and it doesn't have to be just directly associated to your business and the operations of it. It's just about you and your day and you as a human and a whole. That includes you as an entrepreneur too.
You explained that, you know, times are overcome, like, you know, are getting better. But like, how do you think your experience as a woman in these traditionally male-dominated fields have shaped your approach to entrepreneurship and leadership?
Uh, I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to talk too much, like, or repetitively around like the male dominated world, because I think it's developing and it's changing. So I don't really want to kind of like cast this like a dark shadow on it. But I think confidence, just build your own confidence, be your own person, know what you contribute and what you bring to the table, and be the person who is bringing an opportunity to the table rather than asking for something. And that really is almost like 70% of the work done when it comes to commanding the room, when it comes to negotiating successfully, when it comes to just tilting that power dynamic and at least balancing it out, if not tilting it to your advantage.
Amazing. Can you share an example of a time when you felt imposter syndrome or self-doubt and how you managed to push through it?
Oh my God, I feel it like all the time. It was not just once or twice. Actually, first time I felt it, it's weird, it just came to my mind, was when I was in my first ever corporate job in tech. And I mean, I joined and I knew nothing about software and the technology that we were going to sell and all of that stuff. I was very kind of like a fresh graduate, didn't know much. And after about a month, I was talking to a client and I was explaining some certain feature of the technology that we were selling. And I used a specific kind of very technical terminology to explain the usefulness and kind of like the feature of that platform. And I remember having like, oh, wait a minute, talk dirty to me. Like, what did you just say? Like, it's like, did I just become a tech person? And then I was like, no, no, what are you talking about? You have no idea about it. So I was just like, immediately, it was like a moment of like being proud, but also like, well, you're just pretending you don't know what are you talking about. And I think like and that just continues throughout our lives. It doesn't have to be just in business, but in entrepreneurship, I know that a lot of us get it very strongly, very often. And, sometimes I just stop and think like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like I have my fingers in so many different pies. I started a business, I invest in businesses, I, run the part of the family businesses. Like what am I, like I'm doing everything and nothing all at the same time. But I think it's just perspective. And sometimes I like to just even go to bed and just say like, you know what, go to sleep, you'll be fine tomorrow. And it doesn't have to be too deep every single time. And sometimes it does. Sometimes I like to really dig deeper and understand, why am I feeling this way? Was I triggered by someone or something? Was I having a bad day? Was it the chemical combination in my body and my brain that really made me more sensitive to events that day than others? And then sometimes I just go have a chamomile tea and go to bed, and you'll wake up feeling probably better.
Like, how do you celebrate your successes and accomplishments as an entrepreneur? And what importance do you place on acknowledging and recognizing your achievements?
I like to celebrate myself for no reason, to be honest. And to be honest, I celebrate myself probably for no reason more often than for a specific reason. Because when something big happens, I kind of go, oh my God, this is such a momentum. I got to seize the momentum. We got to keep going, and we'll just build on top of it, and let's do more, more, more. And so it kind of like escapes me to kind of go, okay, let's stop and celebrate. It's more of a motivation and inspiration to go and do more. While in fact, when no specific milestone, happened or was achieved, I like to just, I don't know, treat myself to go for a beautiful massage, or like go on a trip to discover a new country, go to a restaurant and try new cuisine and new dishes, meet my friends, and really just have that time with my loved ones where I'm not thinking about work and I'm not distracted and I'm really present with them. And that's been the most valuable reward for me, where I really recharge and I feel loved, and I express love and support towards my people. And I love that.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Can you discuss any lessons or insights you've gained from both your successes as well as failures as an entrepreneur?
Um, there are so many lessons on a daily basis. Failures, lessons on failures. Let's see. It's normally, not always, normally not as bad as we think it is, and to take a step back and really switch on that logical side of the brain rather than look at it emotionally and understand, okay, like, is it actually, does the data tell us that it's actually this bad? Or is it our hurt ego and emotional self just going through it, which is totally fine too. And we should allow ourselves to do that. However, that logical kind of like explicit data that will help you to kind of balance yourself and find your balance again and come back to reality that's not clouded by your emotions. And that has helped me a lot. And in terms of the successes, like, bring them on. I mean, like, you just go and celebrate them, as you say, right? So it doesn't need to be specifically any kind of a learning per se, but I think if there was one thing that I saw in terms of the similarity across all of my successes, it was how I felt in that moment doing whatever was successful, whether it was a business or a deal or a corporate or non. It's how I felt about it. And when I feel the most free and confident and with a higher than normal risk appetite because I believe in it, that's when the success has been coming. And that's when it has been easier than other kind of uphill battles.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Do you have a lot of time? And that don't put so much pressure on yourself. And the third one would be try to learn earlier how to manage your finances because it was just never something that I looked at when it came to, like, what is the budget? How do you budget? And it really helps you as a business owner to learn those skills from a very early stage. You know, how much you should be spending on your shopping and how you shouldn't be doing that without really putting any thought into it. And what is it that you want to just achieve with it in the long term? And it's all the things that I guess more comes from educating yourself, your family, your friends, educating on it, or seeing and kind of acquiring those skills and experiences.
What legacy do you hope to leave through your work? And what mark do you aspire to make on the industries that you work in?
Well, I guess I hope for people to remember me as someone who championed women, invested in women emotionally, financially, all the ways, and who really made their voices heard. I would love that because I think if the world knew how many incredible women we have, they would rally around them and support them, and they wouldn't need, conventional investors or some crazy go-to-market strategies to make their business successful, but also to make themselves known. So I hope that they will remember me as someone who is supportive and warm and loving, and someone who is there when you need and when you don't need.
That sounds absolutely amazing. What inspired you to pursue this topic and share it with our listeners
What topic? Which
about
topic?
your journey?
Oh, well, I'm generally a very open book, and I haven't necessarily always been, because I think predominantly I didn't really think that, my experiences would be something that is so different or inspiring to that matter. But what I learned is even if you think that, there is one person out there who can relate to you, and therefore they feel not alone, and therefore maybe they get inspired. And if there is even one person, woman or man, watching this and kind of like sees themselves in the position I was in or position I am now, or they are on a journey where they're really struggling and they need a bit of a pick me up, then it was all worth it. And I would do it 100 times all over again.
Looking back on our conversation, what's the most important takeaway or message you want our audience to remember?
Know your worth.
Yes.
And if you don't, then that's like when you need to start. That's where you need to build. Because if you don't value yourself, not that nobody else will, some people might, and they might see what you don't see about you. However, it will always be an uphill battle. You will never really be truly happy and comfortable in your own skin if you don't feel that you add value. And every single person adds value, literally without an exception. So please go and know your worth, and know that you're worth a lot,
Mm.
and that you matter.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or any final thoughts you'd like to share before, we wrap up?
Oh, I don't know. Like, go watch My Kitchen, Her Story. Go, come join Founder Social Community if you'd like to have a supportive community around you. Drop me a message. Tell me what you thought of the interview. Tell me what journey you're on. I love hearing new stories, and I try to reply to most of the messages I get, except the ones who are very salesy. So I don't really usually get a chance to do that. But thank you for listening. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being interested in my story.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And last thing, what is one
Yes.
thing that's grateful for today?
I am grateful that I had 8 hours sleep.
Oh my God, that's
I
amazing.
I usually wake up around like 7, 8, but I've been waking up more like a 6. And I know some people are like, "Oh my God, this is great." I'm like, no, no, no. Like, I need my 8 hours sleep. I don't want to wake up at 6. Please don't wake me up at 6. But I have, you know, about 16 calls today, and so when I woke up this morning, I was like, "Great! I'm so rested. I'm recharged. I'm ready. Let's go." So I'm grateful for a good night's sleep I got last night.
Thank you so much for coming on my Trans Connect, but I'm Iconics podcast. It was an absolute
Thank you so much.
pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm really, really like so happy. And I feel like I'm gonna be on cloud nine for the rest of the day. Like I was like, you were talking on the mental health entrepreneurship, and I was like, oh my God, she's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. You're so kind.
Thank you for joining us on this journey celebrating the extraordinary achievements of women entrepreneurs like Tamta. As we conclude, let's carry forward her spirit of empowerment and innovation, forging a future where diversity thrives in every industry. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories. Stay iconic until next time.